Well, hey guys, it's Dr. Austin Perlmutter. In a recent video, I talked about early life programming and how it's so important to understand this. In this video, I want to get into this subject a bit more. I want to especially talk about how early life programming, again, through the microbiome, through the HPA or stress axis, and then through the immune system, is affecting the way that we're even able to see the world today, and how it might be playing a role in our inability to have conversations with people who share opposing viewpoints. So, as I said, in a recent conversation I had in these Instagram posts, I talked about how the microbiome, the HPA axis, and how the immune system are programmed very early on in life, and how that then affects our subsequent emotional development, our cognitive development. But as I'm sure you're aware, when you look at the news, when you look at what people are saying, people are seemingly unable to have conversations with people who are of the opposing political party or who share viewpoints with people that, they don't agree with. And for the most part, we look at this, we look at people and the way that they think as a reflection of the moment-to-moment decisions that they make, as though they are completely in control of what they're thinking, and if they're not thinking what we're thinking, that is their fault, that they are somehow to blame for this. And I want to come back to this point that I keep making, which is we have to start thinking upstream as it relates to people's development, as it relates to their cognition, their emotional state, and especially as it relates to our ability to, again, experience empathy, to have conversations with other people, to see other people's perspectives. As we discussed in the book Brainwash, my dad and I did a lot of research into how different parts of the brain are activated and then trigger us to see the world in different ways, and how inflammation and how chronic stress, things like sleep deprivation, take our prefrontal cortex offline and make it harder for us to regulate our emotions, make it harder for us to see other people's perspectives, and that when we have too much stress, we're activating the amygdala, and when we're thinking from the amygdala, we're really, again, not able to see other people's perspectives. So what I want to emphasize here is that as it relates to this early life programming, we know, for example, that in animal studies, the microbiome interaction with the brain helps to program those neurons in the amygdala. We know that early life stress is going to change the wiring of the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex such that they aren't as integrated as they would have been had that child had lower levels of early life stress. And then we know that the immune system plays such a principal role in determining the way that we see the world. We talked about this again in Brainwash, that inflammation, which is really a state of immune function, and when it becomes chronic or when it's really elevated, can have all sorts of problems, but one of those problems is that it dysregulates our thinking. It makes us unable to think about future consequences. We're all about the present moment. So, to come back again to these early life programmings, what I'm seeing is that, we may be actually experiencing the consequences of this poor early life programming, that with these negative influences early in life and with sustained negative impact of things like chronic stress, of things like sleep deprivation that dysregulate our immune system and that throw our HPA axis off, as well as our generally poor diet, which increases inflammation, damages the microbiome, that these are things that may very well be perpetuating the type of division that we're seeing right now in the modern world. And then why does this matter at all? It's because in order to come up with the best solutions, we need to be able to see people with differing perspectives. I for so long thought that one of the political parties was right and the other political party was wrong. That there was somehow a black and white where if you identified with one political party, you had no idea what was going on, and if you identified with the other one, you really understood the world. And it's just not that way, right? The truth lies somewhere in between. It's about embracing the gray. That's where the truth is going to be. And yet, it seems that we are so increasingly unable to do so. I see the same thing with vegan and carnivore type diets. Is it the case that maybe the truth for the average person might be somewhere in between? I think that is true, but we can't have a conversation when everyone is saying you're either a carnivore or a vegan, and everyone in between isn't taking a side and can't possibly be correct. So, to kind of summarize this conversation, what I want you to appreciate is that much of what drives our current issues, as far as division, as far as lack of empathy, and really this kind of us versus them, black and white style of thinking, may actually be these early life influences. And, I think about these adverse childhood events, or ACEs, and how those are associated with all of these later life consequences, many of which relate to poor decision making and poor thinking. And how really by perpetuating this state of poor diet, which compromises the microbiome, compromises the immune system, and throws off our stress axis, as well as the general lack of mindfulness, which I see again as a consequence of us always being driven by instant gratification, by spending all of our time on social media instead of thinking through what is good for us, by kind of living out other people's ideas of what life is supposed to be, that we are really contributing to this detrimental moment where we are no longer able to have the conversations necessary to be optimized as a species. So that's my message for you today. I hope it was interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching.